Andrew Fisher joins me, columnist at the iPaper, former senior policy advisor for Jeremy Corbyn. He wrote the 2017 and 2019 Labour manifestos. Not entirely on your own, would be my guess, Andrew.
No, they're very much a collective effort. I mean, you're more of an editor than a writer with the manifestos, to be honest.
Oh, are you? Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, listen, what did you make of that?
I think it's the right focus, to focus on the cost of living. I think that's what Labour should have done right from the very off when they were first elected, because that was the crisis they inherited from the Tories. So unfortunately what they did, though, was kind of scupper any goodwill by kind of going after pensioners straight away. He's just said in that little clip you played, life has been harder than it should be. So their solution when they came in was to
make
cut
it harder for
fuel
some
payments. Yeah, and then to try and cut money from people on disability benefits, which, as you know, do not give you a king's ransom to live on. You're far more likely to be in poverty if you're disabled. If you're on benefits and disabled rather than in work, you're even more likely to be in poverty. So, the priorities have been all wrong. So, look, if they are finally 18 months in going, right, the focus is the cost of living crisis, which is what the electorate told them when they voted for change back in, when was it, July 2024, then great. And that is good. But are people still listening to Keir Starmer? I think that's the question, for one. The second thing is he's pointed to some good things they are doing. They've frozen rail fares. That's good. It's not a cut in what you pay. It's frozen in real terms. It goes down because inflation's going up and other things, and hopefully people's wages are going up. But there's a lot he isn't saying. So at the same time, rents are going up faster than wages. If you come off of a 5-year fixed mortgage at the moment, you're going to find it a lot more expensive than you were paying from 5 years ago. So there are, housing's a real problem. We've just had a Christmas where more children in Britain than ever have spent it in temporary accommodation, homeless. That's a terrible state. Now, that's not Labour's fault. They inherited that to a large extent.
But it is their job now to fix it.
But it's their job to fix it. And so there's so much that is wrong that tinkering around the edges and saying it's going to be this kind of, wonderful new horizons, it's all going to be better, it's not going to feel that straight away. And I think that's the tough thing. They have got to... I think the biggest problem they've got is they came in on this manifesto, which was paper thin, that said, there's a few little tax rises in here, but generally it's going to be because we're going to manage things better. That's why things are going to improve. Don't need big tax rises. And of course, that was a lie. They then put in huge tax rises in the last two budgets. Justifiable. They needed to improve public services, but they weren't honest.
Was it a lie? Did they know at the time that they would have to? Yeah.
Of course. And it wasn't just me saying it. It was, establishment groups like the Institute for Fiscal Studies, Paul Johnson, who was the head of it at the time, was saying, look, both the Tory and Labour manifestos are frankly a work of fiction. And they weren't being honest with the public because politicians don't want to be scrutinised for bold things they're doing. And unfortunately, we have got a generation of politicians. It's not just a Labour problem. It's not just Keir Starmer, who don't want to have an honest debate with the public.
I mean, I said as well at the beginning there that I do find his lack of heft when he speaks. He doesn't keep me with him when he speaks in these formal settings. I mean, one-to-one is slightly different, but in the formal settings, when he gives these delivered speeches, it doesn't quite land for me. It doesn't help when they're using terms, because clearly it's not written by him entirely. Funding for communities. There'll be funding for communities. Well, of course there will. There always is. New health hubs. Okay, let's see where they go. Energy bills will be down. We've just learned in the last day that they're going up. And
stay
in reality, because we're in reality. So don't tell us the opposite.
Yeah, and energy bills will go down after April, because of the policy in the budget that cuts them by about £150 off the average household bill. But they've just gone up, and they've gone up for the fourth time, I think, since Labour's been elected.
How about this, Andrew? I had somebody knocking on my door at 7:30 in the morning, 2 mornings ago, to read my meter. And I just said, sayonara, leave me alone. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
I'll send you a photo of my meter reading. 7:30 in the morning, and he was legit.
Wow.
He wasn't. Anyway, I thought I'd throw that one in. I just thought, what? What, you're going to fleece me a bit more?
Water bills have gone up. I mean, I think they went up by about 29% last year on average, water bills. I think 31% where I live, I think 44% in southern water areas, and at different rates around the country. So, a lot of it, whether it's housing, your energy bill over the past, few years, your water bills, your council tax tax goes up 5% every year in most areas. A lot of things are still going up.
Food
price inflation has been massive, and of course that hits the poorest hardest because they spend a larger proportion of their income on food, and on bills, on the essentials. So it is a tough thing. They've got a lot to sort out, and I think they have squandered the first 18 months. Now, I think there's a question about whether it's recoverable, certainly for Keir Starmer and possibly for this Labour government entirely, if they don't start showing that things are changing pretty quickly and significantly. I think that's the big thing. Tinkering around the edges by freezing prescriptions or freezing rail fares isn't going to cut it. People need to see something a bit more substantial than that.
You mentioned whether they'll be able to pull it back. I guess May is the first big test, isn't it? The big sort of weather vane moment.
I think everybody thinks he'll be gone after that. You speak to Labour MPs from not just on the left of the party, but actually from the centre, and even, as we've seen, people in his own cabinet are talking about who's going to replace him. Because, Labour is forecast, look at the polling, to do exceptionally badly. Labour's currently polling third in Wales, distant third in Wales. Labour's never lost an election in Wales under devolution since Blair, Brown, Miliband, Corbyn have all won. Every time Labour has won in Wales, they're now a distant third. That's unprecedented. Labour's a distant third in Scotland now on the latest polls I've seen. They're
and
about
it was
to lose
rallying
a lot of seats.
in Scotland, wasn't it?
It was rallying, and that's completely fallen off a cliff now. So it's in a very, very dire state. And there does seem to be, I think, a frustration. I said it at the time, the reason the Tories lost in 2024 was because of the cost of living crisis. People were just fed up with them, the corruption, the sleaze, all of that stuff as well. And then you had Labour come in. There was the scandal about who was paying for people's suits and holidays and parties and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And specs and all, everything else, it seemed.
Yeah.
And then they cut pensioners thing. They tried to cut stuff off of disabled people. It just set the wrong tone. People went, no, you're more of the same. We don't want you.
We touched on May, and I thought it was interesting what's coming in May. I thought it was interesting in that speech towards the end of it, in the message there that we just played, towards the end of it, he talks about, he sets his positive picture of what he says is coming, and then talks about that's the real Britain. And again, what does he mean by that? Because I interpret that to mean, all these things other people are saying in politics about what the real Britain is. It's not. It's great. It's really great. And actually, if people, however they vote, if they're living the not great aspects of Britain at the moment, he's almost saying that they're lying to you, don't believe them, or even don't fall for it. And actually, I don't think people are falling for things in the main. Some people will be, but I don't think many people are. I think they're feeling their life.
Yeah, I think it's a widespread feeling that Britain isn't at its best. I think, any of us who have been around, I've been around 46 years now. I just had my birthday.
Birthday.
There have been, thank you.
I bet it gets ignored. Mine's in 2 weeks. Barely notice it.
I know. It's a difficult time of year to have a birthday, isn't it?
We'll live.
But, I think a lot of people can look at it at the moment and kind of go, look, the NHS has got massive waiting lists. If you happen to be involved in a criminal trial or anything like that, they're months delayed. Wages are down. We've talked about bills and the cost of living and everthing like that. Yeah, it's not the best time around at the moment.
Which
and
isn't
it hasn't
uniquely
been for a long
his
time.
fault. Not uniquely his fault.
It's not
uniquely Labour's fault.
It's largely inherited. But you elect a government, especially a government elected on the slogan of change, to, change it. And most people's evaluation so far is they haven't, or at least not enough.